Hi heaven ho, this is LIS, and today I will be discussing what is all the hubbub in Tennocon 2019, which packs in upcoming new content such as the Duviri Paradox, the new war, Operation Railjack, new weapons, warframes, and many more. But the question is, should you be hyped? To directly answer the question and skip the essay yada yadas I usually give just to make a decently long video, yes you should. So anyways, if you like what you see, please leave a like and join the High Heaven Hunters by subscribing. See you later and stay up! However, if you don't mind my essay yada yadas and more so find it interesting to know and is overall insightful, then feel free to stick with me throughout this video. My views and reasons on why you should be hyped for Warframe's next biggest expansions are as follows. Portions of what is shown through trailers are official in-game, which makes it good as it avoids practices of this being deceptive overall. So the trailers are not actually just hype boosters like what most game promotions usually do, as parts of their assets used are also gonna be used in-game. The way the assets will be made into forms of playable content is mainly up to how the developers vision the way it is to be played. It can also be improved and worked on more by the community depending on their feedback, once it releases and has enough experience gained by them. New content in general is very much appreciated as usual. In my honesty, they are not anything game-changing or anything insanely unique, and that is okay. In my opinion, players, most especially the veterans, should not take new content for granted, most especially if it is not the same usual power booster that makes the already strong gear even more powerful. They should take it as something good, not something better or insanely amazing, as this type of mentality is just unhealthy, since it gives off unfair standards, let alone on a company that is not considered AAA to most people. I get that criticisms are important, but do not abuse that concept, as it will not always work out when improving certain things, so take it with a grain of salt. In short, balance the critique with both negatives and positives to it, and if one overweighs it, try and be polite and civil with it as you are deconstructing why one side is overweighing the other. There will be more new players that will get into this game, and that is for me the best news to date in online gaming, as making the game more popular is a huge win-win in both sides, which are the game's longevity and the game's company's livelihood. But do take note that a game's popularity is not always an important factor in making a successful game. There's also the part where the game's type of content is enough to create a niche of loyal and dedicated players who will sustain the game with their dying will. And that type of loyalty is more than enough to keep the game alive, as the fact that they love the game and are willing to keep it alive alongside inviting new players to give it a shot is pretty impressive. More possibilities of gear builds to shift the meta can be either controversial or just a good thing. Controversial, as the players who are mainly using underrated and underpowered gear will demand the company to have it join the meta, as they feel that their style is just not strong enough, since this game's main attraction is of course power fantasy, the feeling of being a god and owning everything in its wake. And the former meta main players will demand to bring it back, as they lost their fun on it. All of these are for the main objective of balancing the power of the game, which is subjective at the end of the day, as not everyone will find it okay to be the same power level as the others, since they find being better to be a fun reward than anything else, which is also a common theme in the competitive scene in video games. Finally, a good thing, as it can end the tendency of spamming the same overpowered meta gear set over and over just to sustain maximum efficiency in grinding. Need I say more? My personal gripe on one of the upcoming update in Warframe, known as the Duviri Paradox, is that I wish that it is true and official, that our operators are finally gonna grow up to be mature adults, as for me it just feels awkward to play as an underage child in a semi-realistic world that mainly offers extreme violence and cruel warfare. I know the point of virtual world, but this is just my personal preferences, as I find this game's aesthetic leaning more on realism than in over-the-top wackiness like what anime usually do. There is a huge difference between realistic setting and a toony setting. I am fine with playing as a lolly in a game, as she looks unrealistic and has unrealistic personality. But playing as a somewhat realistic looking child with somewhat realistic looking personality. It feels immersion breaking as it looks awkward seeing a realistic looking underage person fight a realistic looking fully grown mature adult, and for whatever reason, she wins the fight. To sum up my personal gripe on the Doviri paradox, I play realistic aesthetic games to be immersed, and I play unrealistic aesthetic games to experience its own unique obscurity. You can consider Warframe as unreal and obscure, but for me, I don't, as its rich lore and amazing yet realism sustained future tech-style gameplay feels realistic in my opinion. Alright, these are my perspectives on why you should be hyped for Warframe's next biggest expansions. If you like what you see, please leave a like and join the High Heaven Hunters by subscribing. See you later and stay up!